Here's a couple of good shortcuts to know when you're first starting. To create a new audio track, you just Control T and Control Shift T for a MIDI track. If you wanted to save a default track for audio or MIDI, you just right click and move to the bottom down here. If you have a cool set of effects and synth, you can Control G to group all of these together. You can rename it, Control R. You can save it as a default preset. You can also add it to your collection with right click and then selecting any of whatever collections you created. To edit your collections, you can go to the top left here, and then to the right is the edit. Activate and deactivate audio clips using 0, and same with MIDI. You can duplicate tracks using Control D. You can also duplicate MIDI tracks and audio tracks. To change from session view to arrangement view, use tab. Let's say you want to group some audio and MIDI tracks. You can select all of them and then Control G. You can also do groups within more groups. If you want to rename anything, you can use Control R and you can press tab, it will go to the one below, and tab again. Alternatively, you can shift tab to go up. A good way to see your automation lanes is if you click this button right here. It will open up and allow you to select which automation you want to see. If you want to see less of your automation, you use Alt-click. It will bring them all down. If you want to see all your automation, you can use Alt-click on the plus. You can also fold your automation. If you want to loop a part, you can do Control L. If you're collaborating or just want some markers that will help you throughout the track, you can right-click anywhere on the measure here and add a locator. Type whatever you want. You can right-click it again and go into Edit Info Text. Let's say you're mixing or mastering and you want to be able to control or view the EQ while you're making adjustments to other instruments. If you go to Options, Preferences, and then go to Plugins, here at the bottom you select multiple plugin windows. That way this will still be open from the master track, while I'll still be able to make any edits into any VSTs that are in a different track. Make sure you always do a collect all and save. That way it pulls all the samples that you have from these other folders and pulls it all into the project. So if you were to move the project, it will maintain those samples. While developing your tracks, I think it's pretty important to have a pretty organized project. So one of the things I like to use is color coding, depending on what I'm working on, and groups within groups, and buses. Having all the percussion going through a drum bus, all the bass going through a bass bus, including the subs, makes it easier for when you're mixing and mastering towards the end of your project and you're getting really close. It also helps you isolate very specific parts. Additionally, when you export everything, you can just easily export everything into by soloing the bass bus essentially, and then you have all the basses that for the stems you want to send out. Right. So file management is important for samples and VSTs. Put all my samples into my SDD drive here. That way things don't get too chaotic when you're just trying to pull samples from everything. And then also having your VSTs under one section as well. I have all my Ableton plugins here. And if you want to view those samples, you just click here. If you want to adjust your MIDI mapping, something like this, you can click the M button and you can set a min and max range so that it's never actually going higher or lower than that. The knobs here will be affected differently, so when you move it all the way up, it hits the max. So in this case, it will hit the max of 3.5 decibels, and the minimum will stay at